Hi, welcome to MSc in Project Management and to the Research Methods module. Today, in session 1, we plan to cover an introduction to the research module so that you know more details about the module and what are the areas we will cover in this module. But before that, let's take an overview of what is in MSc Project Management course. As you are already aware, we have 3 semesters in MSc Project Management, and starting with semester 1, we have 3 subjects. First of all, we have resource management, and then we have procurement and contract law, and the third subject is research methods. If you look at semester 2, again we have 3 subjects in semester 2: Principles of Project Management, International Operations and Logistics, and the third subject in semester 2 is International Business and Marketing. Now, if you see all these 6 subjects, within brackets we have mentioned 20 credits. That means each of these subjects are worth 20 credits. What is a credit? Typically, a credit means 10 hours of learning. 10 hours of learning per credit does not mean all 10 hours are classroom learning. It can be 2 to 3 hours of classroom learning, few hours of referencing and reading books, articles related to the subject, few hours of group work, and attending to other coursework like completing your assessments and assignments. So this means 20 credit module we need to set aside 200 hours for learning. Now let's look at semester 3, which looks like one subject, but if you carefully see, it is the master's research project, which is worth 15,000 words. And as you see, this master's research project is worth 60 credits, or it is equivalent to 3 subjects. So this is how the 3 semesters fit in your MSc project management, and as any master's program, it is worth a total of 180 credits. If you see, I have highlighted the research method subject and the master's research project in red color. That is because the research methods module and the master's research project are interrelated. What you learn in research methods module, you will use to complete your research project at the end. So if you look at out of 180 credits, 80 credits are for research. First for the research methods module and then to complete your final research. Okay, now you have got an understanding about how the MSc in project management program looks like. Now let's move to a question. Why a research methods module in many master's programs? The first reason is business problems are unique and different every time. It is not what we learn in class, or it is not about theory. So every time you will have a new business problem, a unique one. So the true learning is not about studying from books or any material, the real skill of problem solving. Because why? Every time The problems are different in a practical context. And as experienced people, you will know most of the time we see symptoms of a problem. We don't see the root causes. It is always hidden or it is beneath the surface. But if we really want to solve the problem or the issue, we need to first find the root causes. So, how do we find these root causes? Research methods module will guide you or will give you the skill to practice a systematic search to find out what you don't see on the surface. Now, the word systematic approach is very important because it depends on what method you use to find these issues. Take an example. If you ask someone, what do you think about this restaurant? The answer will depend on where you will ask this question, who will you ask this question, and how you will ask this question. Therefore, the research results and the research methodology are equally important. So, in this module, what we try to discuss is what is the appropriate research method or the correct research methodology that you can use. And finally, we want students to have an inquisitive mind, not jump into conclusions too fast, not get excited with the symptoms, but to take a step back and see, okay, what is behind this problem? What is causing this problem? What is behind the symptoms? And develop a mind to discover root causes and see the wider problem. Okay, now let's look at what are the learning outcomes of this module. By now you have access to the Next Campus Moodle and you can refer to the module guide for more details. But I would like to highlight the learning outcomes of the research methods module. As you see, there are 4 learning outcomes. And on your right hand side, you see that these learning outcomes are mapped to PMBOK because this is MSc in Project Management. The first learning outcome: evaluate the conceptual nature of research philosophies and methods. So, here we will be learning about what is research methodology and what are the methods available, and a little bit about research philosophies. The second one: appraise existing literature and develop a literature review using appropriate research methods and techniques. So, this is about how do you look at existing literature, current literature that is available around us pertaining to a particular topic, and how do you develop a literature review using the right or appropriate methods and techniques. In fact, this is one of your assessments which we will cover in a minute. The third one is designing an academic poster and doing a poster presentation. We will talk a lot more about the academic poster in a little while, but again, an academic poster has to be presented using the appropriate research methods and techniques. The last learning outcome is about making critical judgments about applying professional skills and research ethics. Today, research ethics is a widely discussed topic because We don't want to get into unethical practices in the guise of research. So, in summary, we have four learning outcomes for the research methods module, and we'll be covering these areas in 1 to 10 sessions. Now, I want to talk to you about how the 10 sessions are organized. Now, we have a table in front of us where we have session 1 to session 10. And the next column, the topics, you will see the topics we plan to cover in each of these sessions. For example, today we are covering session 1, Introduction to Business Research. Each of these 10 sessions are supported with PowerPoint slides, which is in PDF form in your Moodle, and also you will find in our Moodle additional reading material. Remember, I told you each credit is worth 10 hours, and this is where you will spend time looking at the PowerPoint slides and also reading the additional material we have provided. And for each of the sessions, you will find one or more videos in the form of tutorials, just like the one that you are listening to now. The advantage of tutorials is that you can go back and listen to it as and when you want to clarify key areas and doubts that you have. This is a fantastic way of learning and going through the material where tutors take you through examples and what is in the PowerPoint slides. On the far right hand side, you will see a column called student coverage. For me, this is the most important column, and you will see each session we have recommended you to cover within 1 week. It's very important that all the material in session 1 is covered within week 1, and you progress through this module from session 1 to session 10 over a 10-week period. You need a lot of self-discipline here to cover these sessions one by one and make sure that you tick week 1, week 2, week 3 as you go to indicate you have covered these modules and the sessions. I want to highlight another important point. If you see session 1 to session 6, you will see in black letters. Session 7 to session 10, I have highlighted in red color. Session 1 to session 6 is what you critically need for you to complete the assessment of this module. That means the literature review and the academic poster. However, we will cover what is included in session 7 to session 10, which you will mostly use when you are doing your final dissertation. So don't ignore what is in session 7 to session 10. Keep learning that, but critically what you need for this module is session 1 to session 5 contents. The nice thing about the tutorials, you can keep referring to these tutorials while you're doing the final dissertation, and you will have a lot of support coming through. Now let's look at the most important slide, that is the module assignment and assessment plan. If you read the module guide, you will already know that this module research methods is based on a single assignment. So the assessment of this module will be done using one coursework assignment but split into two sections, or what we call into two patches. The first one, the patch 1, which is worth 25% of the marks, is an individual poster presentation. This poster is based on the development of the literature review and the summary of your literature. We will talk more about this poster in the next slide. The second section of the assessment, or what we call patch 2, which is worth 75% of the marks, is an individual report. What is this report? This is to produce a literature review using and applying appropriate research methods, concepts, and techniques related to a topic. And this topic can be anything to do with project management. You're free to select a topic that you are interested in or that you're familiar with. So, again, if you look at the research methods module, will be assessed using one assignment, but that assignment will be split into two sections, or what we call two patches. The first patch, 25% of the marks, is an individual poster presentation. The second section, or what we call patch 2, which is worth 75%, is an individual literature review. It's very important for you to go through the assessment which is given in the Moodle and look at the deadlines. There'll be two deadlines, one for the presentation and one for submitting your literature review. Once again, the assessment is given in the module, in the Moodle, and you can see more details about these two assessments. Okay, now you have an understanding about how the research methods module will be assessed. But let's look at more details about the two patches. First, we'll start with the academic poster. Now on screen you can see a picture of an academic poster done by a student. It is an A3 poster summarizing your work or summarizing your literature review. And typically you have to present this for 10 minutes and also defend your poster by answering a few questions. When you make this poster, it's very important that you make it very clear for the tutors to follow. It has to have a logical structure, and it has to be clear, and it has to be appealing for it to be a good piece of work. In your assessment folder in the Moodle, you will see more details and guidelines how to make a poster. You will be taken through a tutorial on how to make this poster and how to make it an effective piece of work. You will also benefit from many examples at Next Campus where you can refer to the previous work done by students. In the Moodle, you will see examples of these posters which have been awarded distinctions, which have been awarded pass, and also posters that have not made to the pass mark. Looking at these, you can assess what is needed in a poster and what is needed to pass. Also, I recommend you to take some of these examples and discuss in a small group and make it clear to everyone what is a good poster, what do you need to get through, and how do you present an effective poster. Now you have seen the academic poster, let's look at the literature review. But before we go into the contents of the literature review, let's talk a little bit about the final research project. As most of you know, a typical research project has 5 chapters. Now, this is the research project that you will do at the end, which is worth 60 credits and forms your third semester. The first chapter is introduction, and typically introduction will have about 1500 words. This will be followed by a literature review, which is above 5000 words. The third chapter will be methodology, which will have approximately 2500 words. The fourth chapter, again a significant one, which will have the findings and analysis of your research. Once again, 5000 words, a similar size to the literature review. The final chapter is conclusions and recommendations, which will be 1000 words. Now, if you calculate introduction, literature review, methodology, findings and analysis, and conclusions and recommendations, you will find approximately 15,000 words. So, this is your final research project. Now, let's look at what is your assessment for this module. Now, earlier we said your assessment has 2 patches. One, academic poster, which is worth 25% of the marks. Then, the second patch is the literature review, which is worth 75% of the marks. Now, let's look at the literature review. Typically, the literature review is looking at the first 2 chapters of the research project. Now, the literature review that you need to produce is 2500 words. That means a section of the introduction and part of the literature review. Then, using this literature review, you can start building on your work when you start the dissertation. So it's important that you select a good topic that you can follow through to your final research project, which will help you to avoid any rework at the end. If you don't select a very good topic, you'll have to start from the beginning when you move to the final research project. So, what is included in your literature review? Typical chapters, about 500 words in the introduction, a brief methodology about 100 words. Bulk of your assignment will be your literature review. I would suggest about 1700 words and a brief conclusion of 200 words. So, this is what you need to do to get through this research methods module, but you can build on it and move to your final research project. The good thing is there are many examples at Next Campus, and you will see 3 examples given in your Moodle within the assessment folder. Again, a distinction one and a pass, and a literature review that did not achieve a pass mark. Again, I would encourage you to take some copies of these and discuss within a small group and debate what is a good literature review. What are the characteristics of this literature review? What do you need to do in order to gain a pass in your literature review? Okay, having looked at the poster and the literature review, let's move to your essential reading. Now, this research methods module, there are 2 essential readings which we have included in the Moodle. Both these are available to you as soft copies. First one is Introduction to Research and Research Methods, and the second one on your right hand side is Research Methods for Business Students from Mark Saunders. In fact, the Saunders is the core text and the recommended reading. Since you have both these books available to you as electronic copies, you can refer to them anytime you want, and our 10 sessions are based on the Saunders book, and you will see more details in the Saunders book. Now let's move to the session summary. What did we learn in this session? This session was an introduction to the research methods module, and you found that the research methods module account for 20 credits and also 60 credits for the final research project. Almost 45% of your MSc project management is based on this research. So it's a very important module. And also, we saw 3 semesters: first semester, second semester, and third semester. Third semester is entirely about your research project, and the research methods module is the start of that final research. Although we cover a short literature review in this module, it is a fine opportunity for you to build that later on as a full research. And also, you saw it's very important to understand what goes into the academic poster and the literature review. If you understand these expectations better, you will be able to face the assessment with confidence. Finally, we have given 2 essential reading books which are available to you in soft form for you to refer to anytime. So, that is a brief introduction to the research methods module, and we will move on to session 2.